Okay, so going back, so there were about 12 to 15 percentage of population which is considered under the category of special education. And there was a lot of things that really happened. So unlike before that if a child is special, taguan siya sa parents or ikaulaw siya kay either it's believed to be demon possessed or it is believed that they bring curse to the family. But people were aware of new things that they are indeed gift from the Lord. And there were a lot of laws. The democracy also changed for the educational system for these individuals. So children were given an equal opportunity, slowly given equal opportunity in the society. Just like if you happen to ride on a jeepney, diba, you would always see this icon, the person who's wearing the clip art who is trying to sit down on a wheelchair. So that is for the PWD or the persons with disabilities. And we also have a specific markings or design even on our restroom, even on our parking lots. So if you have someone who you are with child with special needs, you'll be given a modification like a special privilege to park on those areas. So there are diverse categories in our special needs. First, they only had this 7 categories that is called first is they have the blind and the limited vision. Next, they used to call it the deaf and the hard of hearing. They also had speech disabilities if they stammer. They have physical disabilities. They also have emotional disturbance, learning disabilities, and the developmentally challenged. Now, in the US alone, they can say that there was a great change when they started for this special education. There were a lot of people who were already registered for certain disabilities because there was awareness and slowly people are accepting. But sad to say that in the Philippines, there is no specific data. Why? Because there is no budget for the studies for special educations that we have. At the same time, if there is specific budget, it's only limited or at times it's being corrupted by these officials who are handed down for this agreement of the project. So what is your comment on this? Juliet or Chloe? Are you there, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Sige, what is your comment on this? That our budget are being corrupted. Our budget for special education is also it's challenge, kumbaga. So I'll just continue. So it's true that even if right now our Department of Education are really giving less opportunities for our SPED or really not looking into the areas of special education, but hopefully they will really address these things. Now going back, looking back, so in Renaissance, these people are believed to be demon possessed, and that is why it's a good thing that sign language had already evolved. And in 1700s, we knew that in history they already created in Paris the first national institute for these people with hard of hearing, and they are slowly emerging. And the famous Victor with his with the study of Jean-Marc Gaspard Itard, where his study on this young man was the year for awakening for the people regarding special education. That these people can be they can they are teachable at the same time. Their tagline, once disabled will be disabled, will really change. We also have other pioneers that we can look back into the timeline for special education. So after the study of ITARD, we also had a French educator. This is actually his student. He developed a system of treating mentally retarded people by observing them and how they can develop their skills by the sensory and motor activities. Another one is we have Maria Montessori, where I already mentioned that she also had her set of toys helping the people. So basically, Maria Montessori was exposed to young children who are somehow emotionally challenged or mga they have tantrums, or maybe during this time they are considered to be the autistic or the ADHD, because in her hospital or in her clinic, di pa man siya kaayo ka-identify, but she just wanted to present these kids with certain toys or materials that are sensorial. Next is we also have another person in history of special education. We have Samuel Ho. So his study was more on the children with visual impairment or the blind. Yeah, and this one also paved way for the another famous person in the SPED, which is Louis Braille, or he had his specific writing. So in SPED 1, I will just inform you or expose you or show to you some Braille way of writing or even simple sign language, but we will not really venture into them. Next is there are so many changes of attitudes where when we had a certain president who really took time in providing activities for children with special needs in the person of John F. Kennedy, because he has a relative who is special. Next is we in the United States they created so many activities, and there was vocational Rehabilitation Act in 1973. That means children with special needs can either be qualified in their work. So unlike before nga di sila pa makatrabaho, but now they are already allowing them to work in the vocational courses. You memorize also this one, Republic Law 94142. It means that there should be an inclusion for the special children, or it was known later on as the IDEA, or Individual with Disabilities Education Act of 1990. Because of this passing of this law, this one, there were so many re-evaluation for the general education system in the different schools, and most of the facilities also are slowly creating not only for the disabled individual. In this century also, there were a lot of people study that paved way, just like the famous Alfred Alfred Binet. He is more likely known to the test, di ba? Pag entrance test ninyo sa USJR, you had several assessments. There's an OSAT test. There's also another one. Um, the OSAT test is actually part of the work of Alfred Binet, where certain concepts for abstract and certain concepts on grammar is being assessed to the student, and they would check if those measurements also can be helpful to the intelligence of the person. Isn't it? You got the idea that you are above average or um, supreme average or something. I don't know how they call it in your assessment for your intelligence in your average. And then if below 80 ka, pag education na lang, uy, ano ka lang, ibutang na nilang 80% sa education, nga daghan, makitag studyhan diri, di ba? Murag, miss, kuan man ta akong kuhaon, miss, ka ng engineering, unya, 75 raman daw akong math miss, mo na, diri na lang ko sa education. Kaluoy sad sa atong department eh. But you will prove them that they are wrong. Maybe you were just disturbed when you took your assessment or your exam. Now, Mr. Alfred Binet had felt that he needs to provide this series of assessments so that students can also be identified whether they have these certain disabilities on their intelligence. Now, let me ask you this question. What is an appropriate education for a student with special needs? What are the arguments that you want to share regarding what is happening right now in our society? And why do you think it would increase the interest for the place in United States? Before we go to Philippines, why do you think it created an interest for the people in the United States? Anyone wants to answer? You may chat your answer or I will call you. Jean, choose one of the discussion questions. Is Jean around?
Yes, miss.
Yes, Jean. Would you like to share your answer?
Magpili ra ko isa ni miss.
Yes, only one. Choose only one. Then please prepare Lucia. Okay na?
Wait sa miss, nawa nya wait sa miss sa kay
Okay. How about you, Lucia?
Okay, Miss, wait sa isa.
Okay, are you ready to share your answers? Okay, who else wants to share their thoughts?
Miss, ready na ko answer, Miss.
Okay, go, Lucia.
So, ang akong gipili na question kay, what is an appropriate education for a student with special needs? Then, para na ko, Miss, kay ang ang student with special needs kay nagdepende man na siya kung asa siya nagkanang nabilong. So if ang sa ang specific nga appropriate education for the different student with different special needs kay dapat mo align siya sa kung unsa asa sila dapat mas i-boost ang ilahang education like if sa blind kay ay ang sa akong nakuan mates kay if ang student kay kanang sa attention siya nagkanang nagkuwang miss kanang like kanang di mas i-introduce siya into games nga mas kanang mas magkuan gani og time then mas ma-focus sila niya dapat mas hands-on ta sa students with special needs kay sila ang mas kanang tabangunan kaayo compared like sa students na normal ra nga ang dili problema ang attention span. So mao to miss.
Thank you, Lucia. So maybe Lucia is trying to tell us here that it differs on each disability and teachers should really know the student. How about Eugene? Are you ready with your answers?
yes miss. Kuan miss, ang question nga akong gipili kay what are the arguments for or against inclusion of students with special needs into regular classrooms? Kuan miss kanang kung naay student sa kanang masagol sa regular classroom, it's either kanang mabully siya or ma-accept siya sa iyahang mga classmates so kanang kuan kuan miss kanang commonly kay kuan man jud kanang lahi man jud siya nga kanang sa bata compare sa iyahang mga classmates so nadjay kanang tendency nga kanang kuan miss kanang mabully siya niya kanang ang iyahang social sing so na po kuan miss kanang iyahang pag-socialize niya sa iyahang mga classmates kay kanang lahi ra jud compare sa kanang sa mga kanang regular nga bata. Then kung naa joy masagol nga ingon ana nga kanang student with special needs kay naman na siya kanang murag customized nga lesson plan nga gihimo sa teacher. So kanang ang teacher jud ang maka-help niya para kanang maka-adjust siya sa kanang regular classroom setting, miss.
Okay. Thank you, Jean, for that. So, there's a customized lesson plan, or what we call the IEP, or the Individualized Instructional Program or Plan. How about you, Laura? What is your take on this discussion questions? Laura? Laura Giral? And please also prepare your thoughts, Mikaela. Or you can chat your answers in there. Do we have Lara and Mikaela? Do we have Elaine? Elaine? Asa man ni sila, oy? Or how about Mary?
Miss, ako miss,
Yes, Mary.
kuan miss, ako lang bilang ikaduha nga question miss.
Okay, go.
Kuan, what are the arguments for? So first, kaya ang arguments for allowing special students with special needs into regular classrooms, kaya they should feel that they're included. Like I think that's one of the most basic kana um, things nga dapat na-experience sa usa ka bata. Like they should feel that they are part of a community, part of a group, so that they don't feel excluded and that they don't feel alone, because at the end of the day, regardless if they are somehow different because they have other needs that are specific only to them and not into like not like similar to kanang the general um, population of children, they are still kind of a child. They are still children. They still need to be around, a common environment. They still need to be with people and such like. And although they may react differently, they will still feel that they are part of a group and that they are not alone. That even though they are different, they can still ka ng gani ka ng socialize with other children and especially with teachers. And then against inclusions, some argue that because they cannot or they should not be integrated into regular classrooms because lagi they have their own specific needs na dili or possibly dili makater sa teachers because ang ilahang general nga kanang i-cater kay ang kanang um, like quote unquote normal students na kanang walay special needs. So like it's more of inconvenience I guess kanang dili sila ganahan magpa-appeal og mga special needs na estudyante, and that they are different in the way they socialize because some children will when for example a group of 5 children find it normal nga magduwa, then there's this one special student, then dili siya kaduwa kay uh, because of his or her disability then like mo na ang makuan sa teacher, I think na inconvenient para niya, but I think that only perpetuates the kanang ma-excluded siya rather than ma-feel niya nga included siya as a group. So, more to me, akong basically mga prominent nga against of for nga arguments for special students with special needs.
Thank you, Mary. You might be one of the spokesperson for these people, no, in the future. Who knows? You might venture into special education. How about you? Yes, Juliet. Is Juliet around? Or how about Henny, Chloe? Okay. Sige, I will just continue. Now, so going back also to our lessons, we already had this one. Some of the topics regarding the special education and what are those special education services and different exceptional disabilities. So we go back to this big chunk of story, balik-balik yun ni Sia because he is like the
Excuse me,
prominent.
Miss.
Yes,
Miss, regarding atong question nimo number 3, Miss ba, katong murag ni dako ang interest sa
yes. Would you
katong mga
like to
special
answer?
needs sa 1960 kay based sa katong first nimo nga discussion, Miss, kay the government of US kay naay murag ihatag ang ilang government sa katong parents sa student nga na special needs, then brag ni boost or ni dako ang ilang interest sa mga na special needs, even though kay ang uban kay bisag uh, kanang dili kay siya ingon nga grabe ang iyang pagka case sa kanang pagka special, but ilhang gi consider nga special ang bata since because kay murag atter sila nga na sila dawaton from the government sa US.
Yes, correct. Thank you, Bernard. Because of that funding and the selection of the children with special needs with their family, they also wanted to be part of that program. Thank you for being keen with that one, Bernard. And in the story for special education, we cannot get away from this um, anecdote from the story of Aitard and Victor and how their relationship really paved way in our special education. For him, he emphasizes on five things, and also he wanted to stress this one. First is he wanted the special boy or anybody who has special needs to socialize in life. So there should be an interaction. Next is to awaken the nervous sensibility. So meaning this is about the tantrums, how to augment them, how to help them, or maybe if there are certain medicines that the child needs to take, he should take. And also it happens to the regular students that we have in the special education center. Another one is he envisioned to extend the range of his ideas. That is why his students, Sigwin, also continued his study after his death. It also led the speech of this boy Victor to be able to utter few words and allow him to experience a simple mathematical equation. So let's move forward. So this is basically the year of transition, a lot of booming things that happen into the life of the special education system. And several legislation that are being promoted was also discussed. Okay, now, so there are six principles as what I've mentioned in the identification for the Individuals Disability Education Act. First is there should be a free appropriate public education, appropriate evaluation, IEP, LRE, and the parental participation from the students and teachers and their family as well. And what are those procedures that we can use and the Philippines is also trying to adopt? So first is the what we call as the FAPE or the free appropriate public education for all. So meaning unique needs are given to the students in preparation for their education so that they can also be employed in the future and independent living. In Cebu, if you happen to know several special education center, we have what we call as the stages. It's located in near Diplomat Hotel. I don't know what area is that. Ramos, is that Ramos area? So what they had is they allow their children with special needs or Down syndrome to have a special cafe or special cafeteria, and they would serve us with sandwiches, with milk tea, but mo lagi na dugay kay may mahuman dito pangaon kay dugay kay sila magluto, dugay kay sila makacook, dugay sad kay sila maka compute sa ilahang among bayranan. But that is why it's only invitational. So people who would really be patient whenever your crew would be children with Down syndrome or mga children with autism. And it always happened during March. So
Pero naay magkuha nila, kanunay magbantay nila nga kung ano.
yes, na mo assist nila kayo basin mga pa-poison no unsay ilang i-prepare. So there's someone who
Kuyawan.
would prepare or really help them. Yeah, sila ang murag kuan ba. Welcome to special cafe, cafe, cafe.
Murag mga crew di bali nana.
Oh, sila yung mga crew niya. Nasa yung mga mag-tantrums kay wala kuno ni smile ang visitor or ang guest. So, depende kung na mga gwapa kay naman mga chick boy na mga kuan, children with Down syndrome, mag-ilugay. So, it's really fun. So,
Ka-cute.
I don't know if naba sila school this time. I think wala jud sila kuan. It's just their families who are looking into them. Next is there should be appropriate evaluation. Remember what I told you? Even if you know the characteristics, but you cannot label the child as such. There should be a process, there should be a protocol, or he or she should be diagnosed by a specific experts. In Cebu, we have Dr. Altonaga and Dr. Espina for checking of those special needs. So appropriate evaluation is given for the child. And of course, once they are identified, they should have an IEP. So, I'm prepare ani kay si special education teacher. And why is it important? So, she would give the student several activities that focuses on 5 areas: physical, language development, the cognitive, the emotional, and the social ability of the child. And the other one is the self-help skills, meaning even if dili kay kamo ang bata sa mga colors or even certain concepts, as long as the child will do self-help skills like buttoning, changing underwears, brushing the teeth, because it's not forever that their families or their parents will be there to take care of them. So it's important that they know this simple self-help skills. Kaya nga kanang what if nanay pubic hair ang child, di ba dili man sad pwede nga sige ra siya kuyugan sa iyang yaya or sa iyang mama, or like i-assist pa gid siya sa toothbrushing. So it's very important that they know this certain things. But in the event that they are cerebral palsy or they have physical disabilities nga severe na gyud, wala na jud choice ang family mo na. Whenever I hear stories from my parents before nga mo na sila nga teacher ka nang magampo na lang jud ko teacher net nga maunag kamatay ang child, ang special child, kaysa maunag kamatay ang parent ngano man di ba kinsay mo bantay sa child, and who would give the love that is given by a parent pa or from a mom if ever wala na jud mo take care sa. So mo jud na ang pirmi na ko mga madunggan nga stories from a parent with special needs, or sometimes they would really consider these things as a blessing because imbes mag-complain sila ni God why they have special child, these special children would bring joy to the family. They bring kanang luck. In the Chinese,
Tinuod siya na miss.
in the Chinese family that I work, I had several stories gyud nga 'di ba sa Chinese manggod, in order for their business to really flourish, usually mo agree na lang sila nga incest, meaning mas kingig agaw na sila og sige kamoy pagkadayon. And when we go back to the method of Glendel's method of development, if there is a recessive trait and recessive trait imo i-combine, mo result siya og abnormality. Di ba niya? What if that specific cousin, na siya certain disability, niya, makombine pa jud sa certain recessive trait. So, mo result, daghan mga Chinese nga na sila special needs because of incest or they marry their own genes. So, what happened is, usually, mabless na sila if lalaki ang special child mo na ilang gusto because it really brings blessing and luck. Mo na ilang mga secrets. And the owner of the stages that I've mentioned to you, it was owned by a sister who had a special child in honor kay namatay naman iyang sister at the age of 23. She created that institution in Cebu, one of the first special school in Cebu in honor of her sister. So usually mga Chinese ang naa sa stages school for special education. And true enough that even if in the history would tell us that they bring curse, they bring bad luck, it's actually a no-no this time because these kids, they bring blessing, they bring joy to the family, and they are sometimes mo ni sila mo patch sa family nga kanang with their innocence and love, they would patch up certain grievances or certain rough edges in the family kay mga innocent rabiya ning mga special children mo na sila nga no ayong pag-away oy paglablab lang mo, and with their words ba kay mga cute bi adjud kay ni sila. Okay, but dili lang dapat cute, we should also help them. Now we also go back with
Miss, excuse me ta, Miss.
yes,
Nangutana sa Elaine, pwede pa ba daw siya susod?
asa man day siya,
Na-late siya, Miss.
ganina ra ko sige pangita niya. Okay.